Hold on. I was fixing my light and then I realized I hit the go live button and I was like, oh, wait, you have to be in front of the screen. Hello, everybody. Speaking of just popping in, or as I like to do, just popping in, I want to talk today about how you show up like a human, how you connect with your online audience in a real and raw way rather than that kind of forced, practice produced, formal way, right? Because what really attracts people, lives or even pre recorded, is when you're likable. I was going to call this how to be likable on camera, because that's really what we're doing. Is when we're showing up, we want people to lean in and keep listening to us. And so it's really the likability factor that we'll be talking about today. So what do you need to do to show up naturally, fluidly, likable, the human we know you are? Well, it's a couple things, right? It's not just one and done. I talk all the time about how nobody wakes up really good at video, whether that's live video, pre-recorded video, any of that requires you to really be willing to be a beginner, dive in and try some things. Because if you are an introvert, you're going to have to learn that the videos aren't about you and just kind of, how do you put yourself out there? You don't have to be animated and crazy or anything like that. In fact, I've said this before and I'll say it again. The people who work with me who are introverts are actually phenomenal on video, because again, it's not about them, and they're excellent teachers. And most introverts are fantastic observers. And so they really do intimately understand their audience. And that's like the winner, winner, chicken dinner. The biggest thing you really need to wrap your head around is your audience and who you're talking to. Now, I do have some tips, but starting off with your audience, what I want you to do is troll and scroll around and see how they speak. How are they talking? I often talk about, I have an Evernote called, video struggles. And I have the exact words that people use so that when I show up, I can use the language that other people are using. With live video, it's a lot. They're not saying, how do I, present? They're saying, how can I not be awkward on video? Right? Even though it's the same thing, they're saying, like, how can I look professional? What they're actually saying is, like, I feel awkward and I don't want to look awkward. I don't want to look like I don't know what I'm talking about when I clearly know what I'm talking about, right? So you have to scroll around, keep a log of the language that your folks use. Use contractions. So the conversation starts with being conversational. And if you are in a one-on-one conversation with someone, whether that on Zoom or in person, contractions, if you use slang or you have a drawl or there's something regional. My favorite story to tell is Amy Flaherty is a Santray suite expert, Santray therapist expert, and she has multiple businesses. But when we first started working together on her scripts, so these were formal PLF style scripts, she had gotten some really bad advice to take out the y'alls, right? To take out that kind of stuff. Hey, Kathy, joining me from YouTube. Thanks for upping my minutes. Yeah. So again, how are your folks talking? And then if you're like, she was from the South and she says y'all, and she just has a lovely demeanor that someone else had told her, like, oh, you shouldn't say that, or you should be showing up like this, or oh, that's not professional enough. And it's quite the opposite. And I have been lucky enough to actually interview quite a few people who work with Amy for a Test of Magical, and they all say the same thing. She shows up so real. Sometimes she'll just come in a ponytail and no makeup, and she's showing up as one of them, and that is huge, right? And that's the point. Oftentimes, listen, you don't always feel like going live. Last week, I didn't feel like going live, so I did a pop-up class instead. I came in rather informally. We all just kind of had a conversation in Zoom, which I do about once a month or so. You don't always feel like putting it together. People love that. Today in Live Video Launchpad, we had one of our 3 live calls, our coaching calls, and someone needs to pivot. And she's like, I've committed to this audience, but I just don't want to do it. And I said, what you need to do is show up and say, I don't want to do this anymore. It's not going to serve you. it's wasting my time and I want to work on something that will serve you, right? People want you to show up and tell the truth, right? Their BS meter is so high, especially now that so many more people are kind of tuned into the online marketing messaging and they're waiting for the like, but if you buy now, it's like the ShamWow, like, but what if I buy right now, right? And so, hey, Jennifer Miller, I'm going to guess it's you, Facebook user. Right? So conversational is huge. And sense of humor, if you have one, bring it all in. And it doesn't just show up. You're going to have to kind of like find out who you are. And what that means is you have to be willing to mess up and know how to recover. How many of you have heard the story where I did an entire live, because I cover my face with notes. My face is covered right now with notes. And the entire live, I had 2 giant strawberry seeds in my teeth because I didn't look at the mirror clearly before I went live. And there they were, and there they stayed. I could have deleted it and done it again. Why? It was really good content, and it's human to eat some strawberries, and I had strawberry seeds in there. And so whatever, right? And so, but you have to get to that point of whatever. And we don't start there, right? There's so many things, and this is, right, this is the thing. You have so many things that you keep going over in your head, like the tech and the unknowns and what will happen and the button sequence. And I don't know what to do this and pre-recording and editing and all of those things. But once you get going, you find your flow, you know what you're doing. Magic is in the mess. Yes, the magic is in the mess. I love that. Right. And people, it's relatable. I've had wonderful students who they were really nervous. And so they would show up in their community and say like, I really hate live video. I don't like this. This is scary, but because what I need to share with you is so important, right? Can you imagine if you were on the receiving end of that and you were like, oh my gosh, live video is really scary, but this person is willing to show up for me because they want me to have this information. Be still, right? And so you have to, once you get over all of like the tech and the unknowns, then it's preparing and practicing and preparing and practicing and preparing and practicing. Now, one little hint I do have for you, and this is more in the delivery part of it, is if you are naturally more of a monotone person, you're going to need to work on what we call the lilt and the tilt. And the lilt and tilt, I naturally have a lilty tilty voice. Somehow I was not in theater. Nobody knows how this happened because clearly I was made for theater, but I was not. But I've always been a very expressive storyteller and talker and that type of thing. It comes through in my writing. It's my happy place. So that I don't have to work on. What I have to work on is not coming in too hot, not coming in too much. Now, these are all things you have to work with. Generally, in the pro video world, when we have someone on set and they're not a professional, they're not an actor, we generally tell them to turn on their personality about 4 times what they think it should be. And, your jaw might have just dropped, but newscasters will tell you, anybody who's in TV will tell you that 4 times will make you seem like you're showing up about normal, maybe mildly interested. And I do, when I'm doing pre-recorded videos, I think I did a pretty great take and my husband will be like, how about doing that one again? Woo, he's right though, right? So where I think I'm turning it on, it's nice to have somebody. So if you don't have anybody, record yourself and look at it and say, would this be interesting? Or am I kind of like yawn, boring? And you work on it, right? So what if you show up the first couple lives and you're boring? So what? Right? Get the information out there and then you have the opportunity to, deja video and do it again. So again, the other thing, eye contact. Now in pre-recorded videos, you don't have a choice. You are looking here 100% of the time, unless you're doing something funny like, ooh, you are looking at the lens 100% of the time. Because as soon as your eyes start shifting, people don't believe you. Lives are way more informal. I am constantly checking my notes, but the majority of the time I'm connecting. And part of that connection is, again, what feels real about my lives, because it feels like I'm talking to one person. And we're going to circle this back up. I'm going to tie that bow really nicely. Comes back to your audience because, again, you're not speaking to many. because I'm sure you've heard the saying, you're speaking to many, you're reaching none, right? There's many versions of that, but it's true. And you can only sell to one person at a time, right? So you can only sell to one person at a time. You can sell lots of stuff, but only one time. And so when someone feels, I just went through someone's funnel, I fell in, I fell in because all of the stuff was right. The pain points, the objections, all of that was spot on until I got into the funnel and the actual training. And then it was like part of the masses. There was not one piece that made me feel special or like I wasn't like the other 82,000 people who had fallen into the same funnel. And that's where it falls apart, right? And that's where I like to say that's, great funnel building. It's overselling and under delivering. And so what I want with your videos is that you're over delivering, and over delivering just means like you really understand who you're talking to, that one person that you're talking to. Eye contact, gestures. For the love of Peter's Christmas, you are not a robot. Use your hands. In video, when I first learned, like, never cross this line. BS. No, who cares? I have hands and I use them. I often sometimes will rest one like on my back, and then I realize like, oh, I should probably be using that. That looks weird. But because I'm not looking at myself, I forget sometimes. When I rewatch them, I'm like, oh no, I have to take that video down because my hand was on my back. No, who cares? It's human. If I were having a conversation with my neighbor, I'd probably put my hand on my back and jut my hip out a little bit. My chiropractor would hate it because it's terrible posture, but it doesn't matter. That's human, right? So gestures are human. Eye contact is human. Sharing pieces of information that people may not know is what's interesting. So when you want to know how to be interesting and likable, I'm going to write that. That's what I should call this. How can you be likable and human on camera? That's what it is. I write myself notes, everybody, right? And so again, troll around, see what people are saying. So use their language, mix it in with contractions and your language. Be willing to be a beginner. Be willing to mess up. Be 4 times your personality to start with, and then watch the videos and see like, oh, that doesn't feel like the real me. So when you're showing up on video and you're like, that's me, because that's how I feel now. I feel like right now, if you were to meet me in person, this is who you would get. But it took me a little while to get there because, as I like to share, my first videos were I'm going to sandwich this. They were really good in content and quite bad in delivery because I just was not being me. And I am sassy. I am cheeky. I am silly at times. I am really good at what I do and how I teach it. So I just needed to take the stuff I was really good at and wrap the rest of me around it. But it takes a little bit of time. So you have to be willing to be a beginner, be willing to be in the mess. The magic's in the mess. And then you need to show up and keep showing up and keep showing up. And just remember that you are having a conversation on video. It is not a dissertation. So one of my least favorite things is when I'm watching someone's video and I feel like they are talking at me and they are not talking with me. And so now I want you to go watch some videos and see like, oh, I like this. And why? Why do you think you like that? And then watch other videos and like, oh, that one didn't really speak to me. And can you identify, is it the presenter? Is it the content? What is it about the video? And I will tell you, 90% of the time, it won't be the look of the video. It won't be whether someone is perfectly coiffed or perfectly produced or perfectly perfect in every way. No, that is not what makes a good video. And that's why I'm such a huge fan of just starting with what you have, not with big equipment and that type of thing. I mean, I want you showing up as professional as you can and looking your best and sounding your best. But truthfully, I want you connecting with your audience and just wowing them with your content. That's what I want you to do first. And then the rest of it, you can keep upgrading. So Kathy says, started going live 10 months ago and starting to feel comfortable. Just starting. Yeah, but you keep doing it. And you know what, Kathy, while I was having breakfast this morning, you popped in here because you were going live on LinkedIn. And the teacher in me was like, oh, I'm so proud of her. And then the business person who hasn't been approved on LinkedIn for live yet for some very strange reason, which I'm hoping to get help with, was like, I can't believe Kathy got approved before I did. So I love you for going live, because I know that you don't really want to be, except for that you know that on the other end are people who need your help and who can hire you and you can help them. So, I mean, that's really the bottom line. Is, again, last week was all about Live Video Launchpad and showing up, because your visibility is your currency, and you're going to learn that. I mean, I can't wait until I am unleashed on LinkedIn Live, because I know my people are there. So I do upload videos and I do articles and I'm doing everything I can to, be there without being live. But I love going live, because I think that is when I am the most me. And so if you have questions about this, you can hashtag replay. Just let me know if you have any questions. But truly, your CTA, your call to action for today is, I want you to go around. You can look at my videos and other people's videos and say, hey, this is what I like about this. This is what I don't like about this. And really try to start thinking about what it is about the videos that you do and do not like. And Kathy says, I'll be honest, it's hard and I know it needs to happen. And that is doing it anyway. It is hard. If it were easy, everyone would do it. And in your head, not you, Kathy, specifically, but you, my viewing audience, right? You think that way more people are showing up live better than you, and it's simply not true. They may be showing up live, but they're not doing a great job because they haven't thought through their content, which is why you're here, right? And so truthfully, right, you really need to think about, like, there aren't as many people showing up live and doing a great job as you think there are. You're allowing that to become a story. And so, Kathy, I'm so glad that you decided to shut that story down, write a new ending, and just start going live, because I know that you're going to find on the other end of those lives are people who keep checking in, and maybe they're listening and they haven't said anything, and then they start engaging, but they don't, and then suddenly they've hired you. And that's the way it happens. It happens all day long, every single day, 365 days a year. So I'm super happy to be here with you. I will see you next week. I am thinking of changing my live time, because I went live last week. I think it was a Thursday morning for me, like around 10, I forget what time it was for me, but it was really great engagement. So I think I may just, and this is again, part of it, just kind of float around. I see Heather popping at the last minute there. Never thought about it. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Yeah. So it's like a quote that we say around the house here is, my daughter will say something like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And we're like, if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. Right. But then it wouldn't have the impact that it has. So Heather, I'm so sorry you missed the live call. You were being such a great cohort former, but yeah, it's for everybody. So from now on, everybody can come to all the calls. I will see you all on your lives or your videos, or you'll see me. And again, if you're watching on the replay and you have a question, you know where to find me. I'll see you soon. Take care.